Welcome back to Spectrum Sundays, where we introduce professionals and self-advocates who play an important role in the autism community. But we also love to highlight the women behind the Miss America organization and showcase all that they do for our communities.
And a few weeks ago, we spoke with Kylie Shepard, who is serving her community as Miss Olympics in the state of Washington. And we are very excited to welcome her back. Thank you for being with us again today.
Yeah, thank you.
You mentioned previously that you've been involved in the Miss America organization for quite some time. I think you said 10 years, which is just incredible. So what has been your favorite memory so far, as in your time of competing or just in your time as a title holder?
I'm actually an at-large candidate in Washington. So originally they didn't give us like crowns and everything, and then made the decision to, because how better to advocate for the program than having that really easily recognizable thing. So I was all prepared to like buy one. And then I actually got a message from a friend of mine. So I first got involved in the Miss America organization as a little sister, which is a mentorship program we did in our area, in Miss Grace Harbor in 2006. And my big sister went on to win that year, which meant that I got to go on all the appearances and stuff with her, which was really cool as a little kid. So I got a message from her. Apparently my mentor had reached out to her saying how we were allowed to get crowns now. And she offered to send me hers that she wore during her year of service. And so when that package came, like opening that box, I was like crying, because I remember being a little kid, like looking up to her, being like, that's going to be mine one day. I'm going to have that. I'm going to be this. I didn't realize it was going to be so literal that I'd actually have the crown that she was wearing when I said that. So that was a pretty awesome thing, because I don't know how many other people can, say that. So that was a really big deal for me.
Yeah, what a special moment. And I think that goes to show how just amazing Miss America girls are, because over time you were involved since 2006 and there was this person that you looked up to so much. And I mean, that must have been just one of the greatest feelings whenever you open that package. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's how you began your interest and sparked your journey in the Miss America organization, but I know that there are a lot of young women out there who maybe didn't have the same type of experience, but still want to become involved with the Miss America organization. So what advice would you share to them if they're thinking of competing, thinking of signing up?
Honestly, I would just say go out and do it. Even if you don't win, you get so many good experiences. Like, obviously, I wouldn't have come back for the last 10 years if losing was such a terrible thing, you know? You get to meet such amazing people and just grow in yourself. And those interview skills that you get, like, are so necessary in life. Like, my interviews have pretty much got me every job I've ever had to apply for, because I certainly haven't been qualified. But that's such a valuable skill that you don't really get to learn elsewhere. It's not something they really teach you in school, and unless you have parents who are going to sit down and interview you. It can be really intimidating to sit down for your first job interview. So get as much practice in as you can.
Absolutely. There are so many different facets to the competition that can be intimidating to different people that have different experiences. So, talent might be more intimidating, but interview and public speaking, I feel like across the board is pretty intimidating for almost everybody. So, if nothing else, the skills that you earn through interviewing really carry you through and will help you be successful. Who has been your biggest supporter throughout your journey in this organization, and who might you want to give a shout out to?
So definitely my parents have been really supportive, and my big brother as well. I actually, the way I first got involved as a little sister was through one of my mom's coworkers who had been volunteering with the Miss Grace Harbor organization for years, and she helped me get involved. She actually convinced my mom to take me for the first time in, like, I don't know, like 1999 or something. So that was Marianne Larson, and I definitely wouldn't have gotten involved if it wasn't for her. She really helped push me in that direction, and has supported me throughout the years. And my big sister from when I was a little sister, Sydney Reese, has been incredible. And her mom really supported me as well. She was a volunteer in the Miss Grace Harbor organization throughout most of the years that I competed. And she recently passed away. So it's a little hard that she, for me, that she never got to actually see me get a title and get to go to state, because she was definitely my biggest supporter. She never stopped encouraging me, always pushed me to keep competing. Every time I thought about, not coming back the next year, she was able to convince me to come do it. So not having her this year has been a little rough. But I know that she's looking down at me, and she's still supporting me.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful story. And it's amazing how even when people are gone, their impact can last a lifetime. And I think that is a really great case of a really great example of that. But I think what we really want to know is how people can get involved in their own communities as well. And what are some suggestions for people who want to become more involved with the disability community, more specifically, and being able to volunteer?
I definitely think the biggest thing is advocating for yourself and others whenever given the opportunity. I've definitely had people in my life who had to stand up and fight for me when I haven't been able to do it myself. And now that I found my voice, I fully intend on using it to advocate for other people. So when you see somebody who isn't being treated the way that they should, just speaking up for them. Because we all have the ability to do that. And that's a thing that's fairly easy for us, most of us, to do. And so if you're in a position of power, especially advocating for those people is an incredible thing. And so that's really something that I've been trying to do with my year of service and my title, which really gives me a platform that I haven't had before, is to do as much advocacy and speaking up for others as I possibly can throughout this next year.
Right. And I think you spoke on something that's really important. The people that do have positions of power, they have a responsibility and an obligation to advocate on behalf of others. So especially if you're in the service industry, in terms of being a clinician or a therapist, do not, if you ever see anything that is mildly even inappropriate, don't let that pass by. Make sure that you're running that up the flagpole and talking to somebody that can make a change about it, unless it's you that can really implement that change. Thank you for sharing that. So as you certainly know, education and awareness are key to understanding different perspectives about disabilities. But one of the most important things about building a stronger community is encouraging people to embrace diversity through acceptance. If you could give any advice to our viewers about how to practice acceptance, what would that be?
Again, I think it just really comes down to that golden rule of treating others how you would want to be treated. It isn't that hard to do. Just treat people with kindness and respect, the same sort of kindness and respect and love that you would want for yourself. We have more things in common than we do that separate us, and just really focus on those things rather than what makes somebody different from you.
Right. There's a quote that I feel like I've seen a million times that says, it costs $0 to be a good person. And that really rings true, especially through the golden rule.
Yes. And I love the idea of really connecting on what you have in common with other people instead of focusing on their differences. That is some really important life lesson that we can carry in whatever job we hold, whether it's a title holder or beyond. And I wanted to know a little bit more about your experiences of meeting 3 previous Miss America title holders, because you shared a little bit on your social media about that. And I wanted to know what your experiences were like with your conversations with them, and maybe a takeaway that you had.
Yeah, so that's been something that's really awesome since COVID, is all of these internet opportunities to meet people you probably never would have got to meet before. So being able to meet like some former Miss Americas was really incredible, and just kind of getting their advice. So all of us in the Miss Washington organization, like we just got to earlier this week, sit down and talk to Carla and do Miss America 2018. As we all know, she didn't have the most ideal year, and so just getting to listen to her talk about the importance of advocating for yourself and standing up for yourself no matter what was just really incredible. And getting to have that like kind of a conversation with her, because everyone always just tells you like when you go into a pageant, be yourself, right? But then you get all of this feedback from people that kind of will sometimes tell you to do the opposite of that. Like, so how do you balance taking that, that feedback from others and still, being yourself? And she just said it's really important really to like know those lines that you're not willing to cross. So what is it that's something that's really important to you that you don't want others, changing about you? So one thing that's come up a lot with me is a silly thing, but my hair. I have naturally curly hair, which can be kind of messy sometimes, and I have completely fried my hair over my years of competition, trying to make it look like everybody else's. For me to get those big pageant curls that other girls have, I have to straighten my hair first and then curl it, which isn't healthy. And so this last year, I made the decision that I was going to compete with my natural hair, and I didn't care what anybody else told me. And I got so many more compliments on the way that I looked this year compared to any other year. And people told me like how much more confident I looked, and how much more fun it looked like I was having. So that was, it seems like a little thing to other people, but was a really big thing for me. So just, again, really knowing where your lines are that are things that you will not cross no matter what. Because as a title holder, whoever you're competing for, whoever those judges are, should want you, not, some fake version of yourself you're trying to be. Because whatever fake version of yourself you make yourself for that one night, if you end up winning, that's an entire year you have to try to pretend to be that person. So why not just be yourself?
Exactly. We really have to think about our non-negotiables, the things that we just will not waver on. And if we do change about ourselves, then we're not even ourselves at all. And like you said, having to keep up with that standard that really isn't in line with who you are in the core would be so exhausting to keep up with, and honestly not healthy at all to try to keep up with something, a standard that isn't attainable for long term. So I'm so glad that you shared that. I know so many different Miss America title holders who were encouraged not to wear glasses, and since they found that power inside of them, now they wear glasses and get so many more compliments about it. A lot of Black women title holders that I've spoke with have the same experience as you with their natural hair. They've been told, unless you look this way, you will not win. And until they found their voice and embrace what made them who they are, they have the capability of really reaching their full potential, and then having no regrets at the end, saying, I've done everything that I've been able to do. And I did it in my own way. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's certainly an inspiration in itself. So fortunately, as Miss America title holders this year, the one good thing that came out of COVID is that we get to expand our year of service. So instead of 1 year as Miss Olympics, you will now serve into 2021. So you'll be able to make an even greater impact in our communities. What are some of your some of your goals in your extended year as Miss Olympics?
I really hope that, our communities start to open up a little bit more so that I can really get out and start volunteering some more. There's actually a lot of great different organizations in my area. We have a lot of places that I can be volunteering with that like actually specialize in disability awareness and stuff, but unfortunately all of their events are kind of shut down at the moment. So again, I've just kind of really been focusing on that online advocacy. But ideally, I'll be able to get out and serve my community. I've been able to do a couple small events. I was able to serve at 7th Street Theater, which is a historical theater in my area that actually we compete in Miss Grace Harbor there every year. And it's an amazing resource in our communities. So I've been able to volunteer there and try to help them recover financially a little bit from COVID. But I just really want to be able to especially talk to youth, because the youth are our future. Adults are harder to change. They're pretty set in their ways. So just really working with the youth on becoming more accepting of people who are different from them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, too, I wanted to add a comment to your story earlier about how it's important to be confident in yourself and the way you look and the way you want to present yourself, because it's not only about you, but you're also showing other people how to be confident in themselves. And it's kind of full circle with all of these stories about how you've impacted young adults, young boys, young girls, and they're going to look up to you and see that you rocked your natural hair and you looked gorgeous and you were so confident, and they're going to do that themselves in their own lives. But let's get back to the topic of invisible disabilities, because I think there's a lot of different misconceptions and stereotypes that are important to clarify. And were there any that you wanted to touch on in our conversation today?
Yeah, I definitely think the biggest thing in my experience when I disclose my disability to others is they're always surprised that I'm intelligent. Disabled and intelligence are two completely different things. So especially some with dyspraxia, the majority of people who have it are of average, if not above average intelligence. But people just automatically assume when you tell them that there's something wrong with your brain, that you're not as smart as others. And I think that's definitely a stereotype we need to get away from. I actually read an article recently that in some European countries, they specifically hire people with neurological conditions because their brains think differently than the normal person, so that you get all of these different points of view that you wouldn't get from a neurotypical person. So the importance of that the neurodiversity in the workplace is incredible, and in the government, because I've definitely had that experience before of working and people trying to come up with solutions to something, and I'll say something that sounds so incredibly obvious and everybody in the room looks like me, like I just came up with the next greatest thing in the world. And I'm just like, wait, not everybody thought of that. It just seems like the most logical thing to do to me. So embracing that diversity, that there are, people who think differently are actually a strength. And also that idea that you can't be successful or live on your own if you have a disability is another thing that I think we need to overcome. People are surprised that I have a full-time job and go to college full-time. I don't have such a severe disability that I need to be supported by others, that there's a range of disabilities, right? And there's a difference between having a disability and being disabled. Are two completely different things that I don't think a lot of people understand. So yes, I have a disability, but I'm not disabled. I'm able to work and support myself and do all of these things. But there are people, even with my own diagnosis, who are going to have it at a greater severity, that might actually be disabled and need that support and not be able to work for themselves and might need some extra help. So that disabilities come in many different forms, and we can't just assume because somebody says they have a disability that they're going to be like somebody else with a disability.
Absolutely. And I think that just goes to show why so many people are reluctant to speak up about their own disabilities or to even embrace a label, because it's fearful to consider these stereotypes that really do still exist. So it's up to us as advocates, and you're already doing this, but to disseminate some of those stereotypes, to challenge those mainstream ideas, and to reconstruct what it means to have a disability. And I love your analogy of a disability doesn't automatically assume disabled. A disability doesn't automatically assume that you cannot be independent and you cannot support yourself. That is absolutely true. And if nothing else, I hope that's something that our viewers learn from this conversation today. Thank you for sharing that. So with so many people worried about what's going to go on in this next year, rightfully so, due to COVID, we want to focus on some of the positive aspects of our life and remain hopeful during this time of uncertainty. So what is one thing that you're looking forward to or that you're thankful for that has happened or in the coming year?
I've definitely been really thankful for the opportunity to be able to meet so many different people online throughout this year. COVID has definitely made a lot of things more difficult. But I think the greater use of like video technology and all of us learning how to do these things is really going to open up the world for people to be able to, get to know each other in different ways. So that's definitely been something that's really fun for me. And I look forward to continue to, get to meet some of the other Miss America candidates throughout the country, because we have that giant Facebook group now, which is the first time that that's ever happened. And we've had just an incredible opportunity to get to know each other that we probably wouldn't have been able to have if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, now there's almost unlimited opportunities to learn from each other and to grow in so many different ways. But as we're wrapping up today, I wanted to know if there are any resources, whether it be book, podcast, or blog that you keep up with that is informational or resourceful for invisible disabilities for anyone who's looking to learn more.
Yeah, so I definitely I subscribe to the Invisible Disability Association's newsletter to keep up to date with what they're doing, and just finding groups and pages for your specific diagnosis can be really helpful as well. I love going on Dyspraxia USA's page and being able to connect with other people with my own diagnosis and getting to see their stories and kind of having some of my own experiences normalized by seeing other people go through those similar things, especially with a diagnosis that isn't very well researched or well heard of. It's really hard to know completely how it affects us. So like having some of those like things that I think were, weird and not typical, even with somebody with my diagnosis, seeing others go through that same thing is really encouraging. And just finding those social supports with people who have gone through something similar with you can be a really incredible experience. So I definitely advocate for, Facebook groups are an incredible thing. Like get on them, meet new people, share your experience, and maybe inspire some others.
Right. There's definitely power in community. So once you find those people that are like-minded and going through similar experiences, it's so much easier to feel empowered to reach your full potential as well. Thank you for sharing those resources. So we have certainly gathered that you're, one, a very successful person, but two, that you're a very busy person. So we wanted to know about some tips or tricks that you use to manage your busy schedule and maybe even to help you de-stress from all that's going on.
Yeah, so time management is definitely something that I'm trying to get better at. It's something I've really learned the importance of over the last year and a half. So the company that I work for, we do crisis response. So I'm on call 24 hours a day, Monday through Friday, for mental health crises with the families that I work with. So I found the importance of putting in time to relax on your schedule. I know that kind of sounds like a weird thing because most people, just kind of relax when they can. But when you're doing the type of work I'm doing, plus being in school and that kind of stuff, if you don't put that in your calendar, something is going to come up at that time and you're not going to be able to do that self-care that you need to do. And so just doing that self-care when you are getting overwhelmed and stressed is super important. So like I try to make sure that on my weekends, I'm not doing anything for work. I just focus on myself or my school, whatever is going on. I try to make sure I do something at least somewhat social with friends on the weekends as well. I've started playing Dungeons and Dragons with a group of my brother and his friends. So that's a great way to just kind of forget about the world for a few hours. And I've gotten really into candles. I think candles are super relaxing, and I love the smells and the light, and it's that's definitely something that I recommend. A candle and a nice warm bath is a fantastic thing after a stressful week.
I wish I could show you my calendar because I legitimately put in after this, take a bath and relax. And I was thinking about lighting candles and setting up Netflix as I was taking a bath. So you and I are right on track with that. Well, thank you, Kylie. Yes, great weekend plans. Well, thank you so much, Kylie, for sharing all of your experiences with us, some of your tips and tricks for those who are watching and still searching for their voice. You are certainly an inspiration for so many people, and we really look forward to the impact that you will continue to make as Miss Olympics.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for being with us, and thank you everybody for watching. We will see you next week on Spectrum Sundays.